In the dark and treacherous depths of a dungeon, a party of adventurers crept forward, their torches flickering in the gloom. Suddenly they heard a low, ominous humming sound, and they froze in terror as a massive beholder floated into view. The creature was a fearsome sight, a large spherical creature with a massive unblinking central eye that glowed with malevolent intelligence. Surrounding its central eye were 10 smaller, writhing eye stalks, each capable of unleashing a devastating magical attack. Now we know a little more of what a beholder is, let's talk about its features. The beholder has a +8 to its intelligence, +7 to his wisdom, and +8 to his charisma on his saving throws, and has a +12 to its perception checks. It is immune to the prone condition, and has a dark vision of 120 feet and a passive perception of 22. The beholder has an amazing sight, so you must be careful when skulking about in its lair. The last sound you want to hear is, because that means get the hell out. The beholder understands deep speech and undercommon, though it would make sense to give it common as well if he lives in areas where the language is prevalent. Its most unique feature is anti-magic cone. The beholder's central eye creates an area of anti-magic, as in the anti-magic field spell, in a 150-foot cone. At the start of each of its turns, the beholder decides which way the cone faces and whether the cone is active. The area works against the beholder's own eye rays. This baby right here is capable of shutting down all casters while the beholder focuses on other members. However, it's also its biggest weakness. Inside the area of effect, none of its eye rays can do anything to you. So it's also the way to be safe from his eye rays is always stay within the line of sight of the beholder. Do remember that he can always change where he's looking at the beginning of his turn, so if you stay in front of him, he might just look away. Now let's talk about his combat actions. His first combat action is a very basic one, a melee weapon bite attack. On hit it deals 14 or 46 piercing damage. We then had what every single player has heard or knows about the beholder, its eye rays. The beholder shoots 3 of the following magical eye rays at random, choosing one of the 3 targets it can see within 120 feet. We then have the rays as follows. Charm Ray. The targeted creature must succeed in a DC 16 Wisdom saving throw or be charmed by the beholder for an hour, or until the beholder harms the creature. We all know what that means. We then have Paralyzing Ray. The targeted creature must succeed on a DC 16 Constitution saving throw or be paralyzed for 1 minute. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. Basically save or you can't move. We then have Fear Ray. The targeted creature must succeed on a DC 16 Wisdom saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. So it just turns you into a bitch. And then that is followed by Slowing Ray. The targeted creature must succeed on a DC 16 Dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the target's speed is half for 1 minute. In addition, the creature can't take reactions, and it can take either an action or a bonus action on its turn, not both. The creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. We then have Enervation Ray. The targeted creature must make a DC 16 Constitution saving throw, taking 36 or 8d8 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage as a successful one. This is just your basic damaging spell. We then have Telekinetic Ray. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a DC 16 Strength saving throw, or the beholder moves it up to 30 feet in any direction. It is restrained by the Ray's telekinetic grip until the start of the beholder's next turn, or until the beholder is incapacitated. This is your
"You don't know the power of the dark side"
move. Now, if the target is an object weighing 300 pounds or less that isn't being worn or carried, it is moved up to 30 feet in any direction. The beholder can also exert fine control on objects with this ray, such as manipulating a simple tool or opening a door or a container. This ray is followed by Sleep Ray. The targeted creature must succeed on a DC 16 Wisdom saving throw or fall asleep and remain unconscious for 1 minute. The targeted creature awakens if it takes damage or another creature takes its action to wake it up. This ray has no effect on constructs and undead. This is basically your move. We then have Petrification Ray. The targeted creature must make a DC 16 Dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the creature begins to turn to stone and is restrained. It must repeat the saving throw at the end of its next turn. On a success, the effects end. On a failure, the creature is petrified until freed by the Greater Restoration spell or other magic. Honestly, to me, this is one of the strongest elements in the game. This thing could put your entire party out of commission. And to make matters worse, its next ray is Disintegration Ray. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a DC 16 dexterity saving throw or take 45 or 10d8 force damage. If this damage reduces the creature to 0 hit points, its body becomes a pile of fine gray dust. If the target is a large or smaller non-magical object or creation of magical force, it is disintegrated without a saving throw. If the target is a huge or larger object or creation of magical force, this ray disintegrates a 10-foot cube of it. Basically, if you get hit, this. So yeah, that happens. And then we have its last ray, the Death Ray. The targeted creature must succeed on a DC 16 dexterity saving throw, or take 55 or 10d10 necrotic damage. The target dies if the ray reduces it to 0 hit points. The Beholder also has legendary actions which he uses to use his Eye Ray ability, following the same rules as stated before. Now let's talk about a Beholder's lair. A Beholder's central lair is typically a large, spacious cavern with high ceilings, where it can attack without fear of closing to melee range. We then have the lair actions. When fighting inside its lair, a Beholder can invoke the ambient magic to take lair actions. On an initiative count 20, the Beholder can take one lair action to cause one of the following effects. A 50-foot square area of ground within 120 feet of the Beholder becomes slimy. That area is difficult terrain until initiative count 20 on the next round.
Oh, that's nasty.
Walls within 120 feet of the Beholder sprout grasping appendages until initiative count 20 on the round after next. Each creature of the Beholder's choice that starts his turn within 10 feet of such a wall must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw or be grappled. Escaping requires a successful DC 15 strength athletics or dexterity acrobatics check. Lastly, and the coolest one, an eye opens on a surface within 60 feet of the Beholder. One random eye ray of the Beholder shoots from the eye at a target of the Beholder's choice that it can see. The eye then closes and disappears. Let's talk about its regional effects. A region containing a Beholder's lair is warped by the creature's unnatural presence, which creates one or more of the following effects. Creatures within 1 mile of the Beholder's lair sometimes feel as if they're being watched when they aren't. When the Beholder sleeps, minor warps in reality occur within 1 mile of its lair, and then they vanish within 24 hours. Marks on cave walls might change subtly, an eerie trinket might appear when none exists before, and so on. These effects apply only to natural surfaces and to non-magical objects. And lastly, if the Beholder dies, these effects fade over the course of 1d10 days. Now that we talk about its features, let's talk about some settings. Here are 3 settings that could work for your world. First, we have the Fallen Ruins. But over time, the Beholder grew paranoid and cruel, ruling with an iron fist and slaughtering anyone who dared to oppose him. The kingdom eventually rose up against the Beholder, driving him into hiding. The adventurers must uncover the remnants of the Beholder's fallen kingdom, battling his minions and uncovering the secrets of his downfall. Secondly, we have the Fall to Madness. The Beholder was once a revered sage and philosopher, known throughout the realm for his wisdom and insight. Over time, however, his obsession with the nature of reality and the fabric of the universe drove him to madness, and he was transformed into a Beholder while in pursuit of greater knowledge. The adventurers must explore the Beholder's twisted lair, facing off against his philosophical constructs and unraveling the mysteries of his twisted mind, all while trying to save him from himself or eliminating him to prevent him from causing further harm to the realm. Lastly, we have the Land of Grimm. A wizard has taken over a city, enslaving its inhabitants and turning them into twisted, monstrous creatures. The adventurers are tasked with freeing the city from the wizard's grip, but as they explore the dark streets and twisted buildings, they discover the wizard is not the true master of the city. A powerful Beholder has been manipulating the wizard from behind the scenes, using its power to create an army of aberrant soldiers. The adventurers must defeat the Beholder and the wizard if they hope to truly liberate the city and its people. But as they fight their way through the Beholder's minions, they discover the true horrors lie not in the Beholder or the wizard, but in the desperate measures that the people have taken to survive in this grim and twisted world. For a general combat strategy, the Beholder is a highly intelligent and dangerous creature that can use its many eye stalks to devastating effect. In general combat, the Beholder will rely on its mobility, the power of its eye rays to keep the enemies at bay. The Beholder will typically use his central eye to focus at one target at a time, using his disintegration ray or death ray to quickly eliminate any enemies that pose a significant threat. Meanwhile, the Beholder will use his other eye rays to target other enemies using his telekinetic ray to push enemies away and its fear ray to control the battlefield. The Beholder will use his mobility to stay out of reach of melee attackers, using his levitation ability to float above the ground and avoid being cornered. If cornered, the Beholder will use its powerful bite attack to defend itself. For an interesting combat strategy, a Beholder can use its many eye rays in creative ways. Use the Beholder's eye rays to create illusions and distractions on the battlefield. For example, the Beholder could use an illusionary ray to create a decoy of itself, while it moves to a different position to launch a surprise attack. It could use an invisibility ray to disappear from sight, allowing it to reposition itself and avoid attacks altogether. In addition to its rays, the Beholder could use its environment to its advantage. For example, it could use its anti-magic cone to disable the magical abilities of its enemies, then push them into a pit or trap using its telekinetic ray. Or it could use its gravity ray to create a black hole-like effect, drawing enemies towards it and crushing them with its force of gravity. Overall, the Beholder is a versatile and unpredictable opponent that can use its many abilities in creative ways to gain the upper hand in combat. That is all for today's video. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Tell me about your favorite encounter with a Beholder in the comment section below. Peace.